you know the ideal education system? An education system that could benefit everyone, that could help everyone. It's ideal, but then it can be incorporated into like the lives of our children if we look at it like keenly. I'll give you an example. You see, like the way you look at nursery. I'm going to use the modern times education, not like our great grandparents who took probably kids like had that home informal education whereby they were learning things about the community, learning things like this, learning things like that. Now because we can't do homeschooling, okay, actually some people do, but then homeschooling is going to keep you at home, whereby you can teach the kids the things they're supposed to do, and also you, the parent, you're supposed to first know everything about like homeschooling, but because people are now busy and doing this and this, so it's hard for them to homeschool their children. But then in an ideal education system, it could be like taking your kids to nursery. Like probably nursery, they're just learning how to take care of themselves, how to live with others, how to clean after themselves, how to play, because those are things they look out for in a kid's in nursery school. So if a kid doesn't play in nursery, they'll be like, okay, why is the kid not playing, and things like that. And that's what you would also do at home. But because home, you can't now, people can't do that home education, because some cases parents have like 1 or 2 kids, so the kid won't really interact with others. But then long ago, kids would interact with so many people in their community and things like that. But now we live in gated communities, so it's hard for kids to play with others. That's why they take them to school. So in an ideal education system, you would see that your kid goes to nursery and gets those things, interacts with others, learns how to take care of themselves and things like that. Then in primary, probably they learn about the environment, the people around them, their families and such things and stuff like that. Then probably when they get to like when they in primary, they start to explore different things, the things that they might be interested in and things like that, so that they can actually, the best time to see someone is what they're interested in primary. I think if we looked, not in secondary, because in secondary they have grown and you're telling them these things, what do you want to be this, but in primary they are still innocent in most cases, so they don't know what they want. So the best time to tell kids or to spark kids magic is in their primary section. So during their primary section, you look at the things they're interested in. In most cases, the things that you're interested in as you're young, and that's in primary section, are the things that you're supposed to do in this world. Are the things, because you don't know, so you just selected what you just did, whatever was coming to your mind. And why do you think that resonated with you? You get, there is a reason why that resonated with you. But as you're growing, let's say you're going to secondary school, you start looking at it. Remember, now your body is also growing now, so it's hard to focus on what you're supposed to do on your soul when the body is starting to grow, it's starting to influence your decision, it's starting to do this. You get what I'm saying? Because you're going through adolescence, meaning the best time you had to know who you are, you had to follow whatever. So it's the primary. That's why you look at Oscar in the Western world, or even now like in the Eastern, you could look at China. They look at the kid as they are young. Some parents can actually predetermine a kid. Like there is a system whereby actually you can even know so much about a kid before they even after giving birth. You can know so much about a kid because they have those Chinese years. They look at them and they trace all those things, and for them they still follow those traditions. But then for us, we have forgot. We just take kids to school and hope for the best. But then if we looked at the world in that way, so in the primary section, you look at what your kids are interested in. In most cases, that's something your kid would want to pursue later on. In most cases. But then, we take them to secondary school and stuff like that. So in secondary, their bodies are growing. So if their bodies are growing, they're not going to be able to listen to their soul, because their body is now starting to demand for certain things and stuff like that. Remember, you're young, you don't know anything, but then as you're growing, your body is also demanding. It's growing, so you have so many distractions. And then they are studying now. That's when you tell them, be this. Now they start comparing because they want to fit in. They're going to like things so that they can fit in. They're going to like, I want to do sciences because they have had someone talking about, if you're a scientist, you're going to do this and this. I want to do arts because they've had someone doing UK. But when you're young, in most cases, you're doing what you want. That's why it's easy to see yourself when you're young, but it's okay. Then after you go through that system, kids can go through that system. Not in our ideal system here, because our system here is we're still getting things, but we're still putting things in kids instead of developing what is in them. But then the ideal system would be that they go to secondary, and probably they continue nurturing whatever they had in primary, they nurture that. Then probably they go to college, they continue nurturing it. Then afterwards they go to university. Do you know why it's called the university? Like universe, then they add st, so it's the university. So meaning they're supposed to learn about the universe, about the entire world. That's why it's going on. But then in most cases we think we're going to learn about the world, and the entire world is we only in school. That's why you will see some people who have not gone to school, who have not gone to universities, have made it in life, and people who went to the university have not made it, probably in ways that you think they have not made it, because there is a reason as to why you see them the way they are. You get what I'm saying? So university is just universe teaching you, and the best things you can learn probably in the university is just observing. That's why actually they teach them research, they teach them this. But then remember, what research are you teaching them from a young age or in secondary? They were just giving them things. They weren't teaching them, they weren't telling them how to research on their own, they weren't teaching them how to do these things, they weren't teaching. So what are you going to impart into something that has already grown? That's why they'll be like Akacha Mama Mera. Because from young age, they weren't teaching them how to research. So when they get like to university where they're supposed to actually to do real research, there is nothing. Then you look at the olden age where people used to do apprenticeship. So the university stage would be like you starting your own thing, like you doing your own research so that it can be presented. But you look at the research most of us do, it's not helping. Like in universities, I know I was in university and we would do research, but then you look at that research, people are doing it just to get their grade and leave. You get what I'm saying? But then university is where you're supposed to you study the universe, you do research, so that when you're done you get a degree. You get what I'm saying? You get a degree, and when you get that degree, people are going to go. Some people actually are going to go back to get masters, to master in whatever they had researched in their bachelors. But what are you mastering when actually the research you did was just to pass exams? So what are you going to master? You get what I'm saying? And university came from universe, so you just have to observe. Universities are supposed to just observe society and tell kids to identify the things that are in society so that they can come up with solutions. That's what universities are supposed to do. That's what the universe is supposed. That's why we are into this universe, to look at society, observe. The biggest thing we can do is observe. Just sit and observe. You're not going to just look at people, you're going to also look at your thoughts. Observe your thoughts. Like in that meditation state, coaches will tell you, observe your thoughts. That's what it's supposed to be. Sit and observe. If there are demons, observe them till they no longer become demons. Okay, if afterwards you probe, why did I have such thoughts? Why am I thinking that way? It's not a bad thought, but just ask yourself, why am I thinking this way? You're going to get solutions. During that very set, things are going to come and be like, okay, I'm thinking this way because probably someone said something that was hurtful. That's why I'm thinking this way. And that thought will never come back because you've solved it. And people fear observing the society. That's why in universities you're supposed to go universe. So you're supposed to learn how to observe society, come up with research that's going to help others. So when you go for masters, you're mastering yourself, you're mastering the research that you've done. That's what the ideal masters would be. Remember, I'm talking about the ideal education system. So you study whatever you studied, university, you go research, you look at the universe and get something so that you can give solutions. Then in mastering, you're going to go master yourself. That's why you'll be like, you've studied the masters, so you're mastering the research you did and yourself. Remember, as you're researching about the others, you're also getting to know about yourself, because you can't know yourself when you don't know others. You can't know others when you don't know yourself. So as you're doing the research, you're knowing about yourself, then you're mastering yourself. And when you're mastering yourself, life is going to get easy. You're going to just live in your purpose. You're going to just live live effortlessly. You're going to just attract things because you're living in your purpose. You're going to be happy. All these things are going to make sense when you've mastered yourself. So as you're going to the university, as you're doing whatever you do, just know that university, you're going there to just observe. I pray you're in situations where you're taught to observe and you're not just imparted into things. But either way, you can do this on the side because it's an ideal education system. Go to university, master yourself, and become the highest version of yourself. That's in PhD.